but extended skeletons for study at Tlatilco. And Wierzyński, making allowance for all the blending and mixing of things, still comes out with the conservative estimate of 13.5. We even have graves where you have an African male lying beside a Native American female, indicating that you're having mixings and meltings into different kind of population in some places. And when the Olmecs stretched out, when we went to Teotihuacan, that is the evening, that is quite late. Teotihuacan is around the birth of Christ. This is long after the morning of the Olmec. But there again you see the Olmec. You see the jaguar at Teotihuacan. And you see the jaguar undergoing a strange transition where the plume serpent is becoming the powerful thing in Mexico, which it was in Egypt. In America, the United States, the stars and stripes is our great emblem. In Egypt, it was the plume serpent. In Mexico, it is the plume serpent. Even today, the plume serpent is the stars and stripes of Mexico as it was the stars and stripes of ancient Egypt. Can all this be coincidence? Here at Teotihuacan, here they're building this enormous pyramid, and here all the major principles of the Egyptian pyramid are in evidence. The base is identical, identical. Some people had said it was 1 meter off, but now they find that the meter mistake is what they calculate for error in the reconstruction of the site. Because all those sites, that pyramid was buried under the ground, they did not see it. Many of these things that we're seeing today were not visible in Mexico 30 years ago or 40 years ago. People only started digging those things up out under the earth. This was not all standing here looking at the Mexican. They had to find those things again. They found some levels and then they had to dig deeper and deeper and deeper. The story is still largely untold. Victor Damas has pointed out at Palenque, which was called Palenque, that they have 400 temples in the jungles. They haven't started digging yet. They don't have the money. And as you know, with archaeologists, they have their political reasons for digging. Look at La Venta. That's the most important site. Nobody can go to La Venta unless he is an archaeologist sent out by the government. The oil fields are there. They don't allow anybody to come into La Venta. That's on the big shroud. They're doing a lot of excavation. They're finding things. Not a word about what they're finding. We go to Palenque. Palenque is only partly dug up. You see the great tomb and temple. They say it's the only burial found in a pyramid. That is not true. It is the only complete man found in a tomb at the bottom of a pyramid in America. But there mentioned many pyramids in the Americas in which you have urns, 1 or 2 sarcophagi, skeletons, all sorts of things found in the hollow of the pyramids. So that it is evidence that they were not only used as temples but as tombs. People have said that there is a distinction to be drawn between the American pyramids and the Egyptian pyramids. That American pyramids are step, whereas the Egyptian pyramids are conical. That American pyramids are used only as temples, whereas the Egyptian pyramids are used as tombs. This is not true. The Egyptians began building the step pyramid, which you find at La Venta. When the great black genius Imhotep began building pyramids, he did not build a conical pyramid, he built a step pyramid. There are many step pyramids, not very many, but they're still surviving out of the 60 pyramids that survived, the 60 major pyramids in a complex in Egypt or Nubia. There are several of them that are step pyramids, just like in America. Then the Egyptians started filling in the steps so that when you x-ray some of the pyramids, you can still see the steps, although you don't see it with the naked eye. If you x-ray some of them, you can see the steps because the step is built at the core because it more easily solves the problem of the ratio of run to rise in the building of that enormous thing. It's called the second of the pyramid in mathematics. So that it makes it easier to build a conical pyramid by putting the steps and then filling it up. It is true that as an idea or a concept moves from one continent to another, regardless of the nature of the influence, however profound, since natives are building it, not Africans, and Africans couldn't build Teotihuacan. Africans influenced the building. To build Teotihuacan must have taken more than 1 million people. There weren't 1 million Africans in America. So that you have native labor, that is people who are living here are building, but the ideas, the engineering, even before they started to build, these guys worked it out like Washington, D.C. They have grid patterns, they have quadrants, they plan the whole city even before they start to put down the first brick. Obviously, you're not dealing with guys who had never entered urban worlds before, because there was no urban complex in all America. La Venta was a great ceremonial city, yes, but real urban life begins at Teotihuacan. So here are these peasants going to sit down one day and say, let us build a city and let us work out all the structures exactly as the city could be worked out, so that all of these lines are drawn in a certain way. That is exactly what happened. Only an elite who had the intimacy and familiarity with such structures could actually sit down and plan it out before they even start to lift the first brick. So what we're dealing with is conceptual diffusion, the diffusion of ideas, the diffusion of certain kinds of ideas from people who have been working in this for a long time. We're not talking about Africans building a pyramid. Consequently, therefore, when you see the pyramid in America, you see a different configuration. Superficially, it is different. But it has all, Teotihuacan has all three functions that the Egyptian pyramid had. It is a temple. It is a tomb. They have found skeletons inside of the rooms at Teotihuacan, and they haven't dug all of Teotihuacan up yet. There's still hidden temples, hidden passages, inside of Teotihuacan, and it functions as a geodetic marker. That base is not an accident. To build that base, you have to know all the astronomical knowledge Egyptians knew. You have to know the circumference of the earth. You have to know all the units of measurement which came out of the sky, the study of the sky, because we did not make the inch. The Africans did not make the inch by accident. They didn't get up one morning and somebody says, look, let me take my little finger, this is an inch. They didn't build a second of time by accident. The second of time was worked out by the relationship of the sun in its movement across the earth, the rotation on its axis, the rotation of the earth on its axis, all of those things. Those are astronomical things. You cannot have units of measurement without astronomy. Mathematics and astronomy are related, just like geometry is related to the problems they solved in the inundation of the Nile. So all of these things were carried over. Why are they using units of measurement the Egyptians are using? Why, when you go to some of the burials, you find a canope, like in Egypt you have canopic jars in the north, south, east, and west, and they have 4 distinct colors to mark the cardinal points. The Chinese have distinct colors to mark the cardinal points. They're not like the Egyptian. They are not like the Egyptian. No Asiatic color scheme marking the cardinal points are like the Egyptian. But the early Mexicans are doing it exactly like the Egyptian. How did they arrive at that color scheme? And later on they change it. But at that point of time of contact, they are using the identical color scheme of the 4 cardinal points. They came across the Bering Strait. They're Proto-Asiatic. Why are they not using Asiatic color scheme? Obviously an influence has come in. They have calendars.